Hey, and welcome to All Things Podcasting, where we will be giving you an inside look at how to launch, grow, and manage a podcast. If you've been dreaming of starting a podcast but don't know where to start, or you have a podcast and you're looking for the best and most productive growth strategies, then this podcast is for you. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to All Things Podcasting, the podcast where we talk about all things podcasting. So today we're going to be talking about monetizing your content and making money from your podcast, because there is no reason for you to be producing a podcast, particularly at the level that we are discussing here. No reason for you to be hiring a team, no reason for you to put in all this time and effort if you have no monetization plan in mind, or if you don't have a firm one that you are like, this is the clear path for me to make money from this content. So what I always like to remind people is to start with the end in mind. If you want to use this podcast, your YouTube channel, whatever content you are creating, if you want to use it to drive sales, to create more income, more revenue in your business, you have to figure out what it is that you want the audience, the listener, the viewer to do at the end of consuming that content. So let's just use a podcast episode for example. So if somebody comes to your podcast and starts listening to an episode, let's say the episode is about, I have flowers sitting next to me, flower arranging. Okay, so if they are coming to listen to a podcast episode about flower arrangement, first of all, they're probably interested in learning how to arrange flowers, right? So you're going to give them episodes that are going to teach them some of the skills. You're going to give them some information on colors and materials and different types of flowers to use, and maybe based on the season, things like that. And then you are going to give them kind of a guide where they know enough information. It's kind of getting their wheels turning. They're like, oh yeah, that sounds good. I love the way that they're doing that. And then at the end of the episode, you're going to give them a call to action. In this case, that call to action would probably be join our flower arranging e-class, where we send you the materials and you can join us via Zoom and arrange a centerpiece with us, whatever that might be, right? Let's think of another example. I used to work in early childhood education, and I would listen to a ton of podcasts about teaching and working with preschoolers and behaviors and things like that. None of these podcasts ever had a call to action, which is tricky in that space because you do have to have certifications for like continuing education and things like that. But most of these podcasters did have those things. Or they could have had, a resource online, or driven me somewhere where they could have made money from ads, or they could have sent me to an affiliate program for like any of the early childhood resource websites. So you always have to think about, who is your listener? What are they coming there to learn? What are you teaching them? And then what is the natural next step? So when you're creating a podcast episode, I want you to focus on one specific question that your audience has. For example, how do I monetize my podcast, right? So today we're kind of just touching on one little bitty piece of that even. We have an episode that goes more into, it's in season 1, about like the different ways that you can add money to your podcast and get different revenue streams in. But like today we're just talking about, how do you make content that drives people to your offer and makes purchasing from you an easy yes. So you need to focus in each episode on one specific thing, one specific question that your audience has, and then give them a little bit of the answer. Say, I know you have this question. Here's why you have that question. Here's a few things that you probably tried that didn't work. And here is a little sampling of things that you could implement to start seeing change today. And you want to give them a little bit of that action piece, because when you give them a little bit of that action piece, they're going to implement it and they're going to see that it works. And then they're going to come back and they're going to keep listening to your content, and they're going to trust you and want to purchase from you. So when you go in and you give them that little smattering, they're primed and ready to buy. The next thing is going to be an easy yes, because they trust you and they know what you're offering and that you are a reliable source to teach them these things. So then at the end of your episode, you want to give them a really clear call to action. And I will say, as somebody who doesn't like to sell, it's just not in my nature. It is a difficult thing to do, and it can feel awkward, and it takes a lot of practice to kind of get into that habit.
And I know we always hear like selling as a service and it sounds so cheesy, but it really is true. If somebody's going to buy from you, it's because they need what you're offering. So by not giving them that next step option, by not giving them a way to get help, you're actually doing them a disservice. So I try to think about it like that so that selling feels better. When you are doing your content planning, what you need to do is you need to start with the call to action. We're going to reverse engineer. So you can start with what you want to talk about first. If people are coming to you constantly with a question like, how do I use AI with my podcast? So that's one that I get all the time. So we will do episodes on that. But you need to kind of start with that call to action in mind. So I have like several ChatGPT bots built. Say I want them to sign up for a freebie to get access to that ChatGPT bot to help them with their podcast. I would want to start with that call to action in mind and kind of build up to that call to action. So I'm not going to talk about a totally different strategy to use AI with your podcast that doesn't relate to the chatbot that I'm trying to get them to sign up for a freebie to get. So you need to start with the end in mind and make sure that you know that the content that you're planning naturally leads to the call to action you want people to take. So that being said, if you want help creating that kind of content and figuring out, okay, this is the action I want people to take. Here's what I'm wanting to sell this quarter. Here's the freebie that I want people to sign up for that's going to lead them into an email funnel. How do I create episodes centered around that? Then join us inside the AV Club. The link is in the show notes, and we will get you all set up with the strategies that we use with our one-on-one clients to plan out your content in order to make the conversion easy and make your audience turn into buyers super quickly because they know who you are, what you offer, that you're a reliable source. They build that know, like, and trust. They know that you can solve their problems, and then it makes an easy yes for them to buy whatever it is that you're offering. So if you want to join us inside the AV Club, click the link in the show notes. And as always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me via DM. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of All Things Podcasting. If you enjoyed this episode, then hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcasting platform so that you'll never miss an episode. This podcast is for you, so be sure to reach out and let me know what you thought about it. You can DM me through Facebook or Instagram, where I also share valuable content, or you can find me in our Facebook group. Just search for All Things Podcasting in the search bar. I can't wait for you to join us next week for the latest episode of All Things Podcasting.